Please be advised that we are speaking in our own individual capacities and not representing any companies we may work for. We are not your lawyers, and any information given during this podcast does not constitute as legal advice and is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Enjoy the episode. Thinking about the bar exam, not in a panic way, but in a this is coming whether I like it or not way. That is exactly why Themis Bar Review makes so much sense. Bar prep has this way of sitting in the back of your mind. You can catch yourself thinking about the July 2026 bar all the time. But the good news is it does not have to feel overwhelming or chaotic. You don't have to spend your semester stressing about what bar prep course is best or putting off planning until the last minute. Themis gives you a clear, trustworthy study plan with everything you need to know to pass the bar exam, including every Themis course. There is no guessing, there is no balancing between platforms, just a clear path forward so you can focus on school now and feel more in control later. Their lectures are broken into short 15 to 20-minute chapters backed by research on memory retention, so you are learning in a way that actually sticks. Everything lives in one easy-to-use platform with forward-thinking tools that help you stay consistent without burning out. And you are not on your own with Themis. You get a full personal success team, including attorney advisors and a dedicated essay grader. Real humans who hold you accountable. They check in and they help you through the tough spots. Their performance analytics also show you exactly where you stand, so you're never guessing or spiraling over progress. Bar prep does not have to be something that you fear. Themis gives you clear study programs and a team that you trust. Trust the process, trust the plan, and trust Themis. Thank you, Themis, for sponsoring this episode. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Girls Gone Legal. We are so excited to have you today. We have a very special guest from Themis Bar Review. Her name is Rebecca. She's an attorney director at Themis Bar Review, where she has spent nearly 9 years working directly with law students and law school partners. She supports students from the start of law school through bar passage and as an attorney. She understands both the academic and emotional weight of that journey from the inside. She's passionate about demystifying the bar exam and lessening barriers to entry in the legal profession. She received her JD from the Case Western Reserve University School of Law. So welcome, Rebecca. We are so excited to have you today. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I know we've been trying to schedule this for so long, and I'm so excited for our audience to finally get to hear a bar episode. And it's super exciting because I have exciting news. I actually just passed the bar using Themis Bar Review, so I cannot suggest it enough. If you have any questions, reach out to Rebecca, reach out to me. I cannot say enough good things about Themis. They are so amazing. So I'm really excited for today's episode.
I'm excited too, and I'm super excited that you passed the bar. That's amazing news. Congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
remember when I passed the bar, it's like the biggest weight off of you ever. You have to feel so good right now.
I feel so amazing. Life feels unreal. It feels so surreal. I'm so happy. And I felt super confident too when I was using Themis because it was the first time I took the Florida bar. So took the Florida bar one and done, but I had taken New Jersey and I failed in the past and I was struggling a lot. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to use Themis. My friends used Themis their first time. The first time I used Themis passed. So it was the most amazing feeling ever, and it feels great right now. But yeah, let's start. Let's get into a little bit about your background and your career path. So the first question I have for you is, what first drew you to the legal field? Was there a specific moment or influence that set you on this path?
I think I'm like a lot of people that went to law school where I was told I was good at arguing from a very young age. And it just kind of was always in the back of my mind. When I was in college, I was not thinking about law school, and then something told me take the LSAT because it was like always kind of a plan. And then I went to college. I was like, no. And then I took the LSAT, and I was like, yeah, I actually do think that's what I want to do. So it wasn't one specific thing, but it was kind of just like all these little things in my life that led me here.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing different stories. For me, I knew I wanted to go to law school from such a young age, one of those cliche stories that this was always something I wanted to do. But Katie, my co-host, I know that she thought about it later on, like, you know what, this is something I really want to get into while she was, going through school and through the motions. So that's great. I love hearing that. I guess so my next question would be, did you always, oh no, Here we go. It was, did you know you always wanted to go to law school, which we just talked about. So you already answered question 1 and 2 right there. Thank you. And my next question is, were there any aspects of your background or upbringing that shaped how you approached law school? So when you were entering law school, I know a lot of students and a lot of our audience there's a lot of 1Ls that are starting in August. They're nervous of how to approach it. So if you have any advice.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was a first generation law student. Nobody in my family went to law school. I didn't have anybody to explain to me what 1L year really means, all those kinds of things that unless you know when you're walking in, you just have to figure it out as you go along. And
Yeah.
I wish there had been somebody to help me with that because I'm sure you can remember 1L is like such an overwhelming experience. And so my biggest advice
So,
to you is to anybody who's listening to this, who's going into law school, is to really take your grades seriously. Like people will say that. I think it's hard to understand what that actually means until you are sitting in those final exams for the first time. But that is the biggest piece of advice that I could give because I know there are a lot of other people who are in the same shoes I was in where they don't have people giving them that guidance.
yeah. No, I think that's really helpful. I wish I had something like this to watch before I was going into law school because I went into it just so chaotic. Like I didn't know what to expect, how to approach it, and I'm such an organized person, how to organize myself. It took me a few months to like honestly just even get organized to how I wanted to approach all my classes. But I think that's great advice. Definitely take your grades seriously. Take your midterms, your final exams seriously, and you'll thrive if you just really focus on that. I guess now that we're talking about 1L and just kind of getting into like the weeds of everything, everybody freaks out about outlining and going through doing IRAC, issue, rule, application, conclusion. I don't know if you have any advice for this. When I went into it, I was reading every single word of every single case brief and it was driving me crazy. And I was like, I can't memorize all of this. Like, do you have any advice of when you're case briefing of how to kind of go about that to pull the like most beneficial information out of?
Yeah, I have to plug our Themis Law School Essentials first. So they're
Of
totally free,
course.
but we have a 1L program. So that is designed to help you through all of your 1L bar tested courses. And in that program online, there are videos that talk to you about case briefing, outlining, all kinds of things like that that can help you make sense of some of these things in a way that I can't do necessarily in my little snippet of time talking about it on a podcast. But one
Yeah.
thing that I took me a very long time to learn when I was in law school is that studying for law school is such a different experience than anything you've studied for before. Because your goal is not in a lot of undergraduate classes, your goal is to memorize and synthesize and be able to analyze a small chunk of information on an exam, right? Because you have multiple exams usually throughout the course of a semester. In law school, you're looking at synthesizing and memorizing and understanding how to apply an entire semester's worth of material into one exam. Obviously, the midterm is less volume than that. And so you have to think about how can I study in the ways that are most efficient and also the most effective? Because if you try, like you said, to do absolutely everything all the time, you're going to hit a
Yeah.
wall and you're going to burn out so hard by the time exams roll around that you're not even going to be able to study effectively for those exams. And so
Yeah.
thinking early on in law school about how do I learn best? What does that mean for me? For me, that's handwriting. I have to write everything down or it is like it doesn't exist. So figuring out what those tools are in your toolkit that you can use to not just memorize the material, but like truly understand it. And that's going to help you so much more than trying to do everything all the time.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. For me, it was having a physical book, a hard copy book in hand, because I like to highlight, I like to tab, and just pull out the information from there. Whereas some people just had their online textbooks, which are great, and it works for some people. But for me, like you said, you had to write everything out. I had to sit there and highlight, and just like read it from a hard copy because we're always on our laptops. And if we're not on our laptops, we're probably on our phones.
Yeah.
So just like seeing it, looking at a screen all day, 1L, I actually went to the eye doctor because I thought I needed glasses at one point because I was just staring at a screen for so long. And he was like, "You're fine. Just get like eye drops. Like you don't need to get glasses." But I was staring at a screen for so long. So no, I think that's great advice for 1Ls. If you're listening to this, definitely take that to heart. Okay, I want to transition a little bit from 1L law school stuff to you becoming an attorney director at Themis. So maybe can you walk us through your law school journey of how you're in law school? Were you thinking of doing or practicing a certain type of law? Did you practice after? And like kind of how did you end up at Themis?
Sure. So I was a Themis rep when I was in law school for all 3 years of my time at Case. And I really loved doing that. It was such a nice way to connect with my classmates. And also, as I mentioned, first gen law student, I didn't know anything about the bar. I didn't even realize that you had to pay for a bar review course when I first started law school. That was total news to me. And so being
Yeah.
a rep actually gave me a lot of opportunity to learn about what is the bar exam? What does that mean? Like, how do I study for it? And so I walked into bar study feeling really prepared to do the actual work of studying, which was great. Yet that takes, I'm sure you can attest to this, like there's a whole kind of language that you have to learn in terms of what it means to study for the bar. So having that
Yeah.
knowledge ahead of time was really helpful. And then I actually took the bar and got my job offer from Themis in August after I took the bar. So I had just finished the bar
Amazing.
exam. Yeah, I didn't know if I wanted to practice when I started law school. I was kind of between getting an MBA and a JD, and I just felt like the JD was the better choice. And it was. I'm so glad that I did it. But I was never somebody that was like, I need to practice law. I think I wanted more
Yeah.
of the practical knowledge than I did to actually practice. And so I'm very happy with where I ended up. I feel like it's a great combination of things for my skills, and I get to work with students and help them through this journey, which I actually think is the most rewarding part of my job.
Yeah. No, I love that, and I really take that to heart because I failed the bar exam in the past, and I've been through that journey for 2 years. I graduated in 2024. It was a journey studying for the bar exam. So, like any bar review courses and Themis most especially, because I used Themis and Themis was the one that got me through and got me over that hurdle of just, "Okay, you're past now, you're an attorney, you're done." Um I love people that are helping others get through the bar exam because it is such a process. And not only is it a lot of studying, but it's a lot on your mental health and just your life changes for those amount of months that you're studying. So I think that's great. And I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people that are in law school or not sure if they want to practice. Or I know a bunch of people right now that are 2 years out of law school and they're like, I don't really know if I want to still be an attorney or if I want to practice or I don't know what to do. But everyone kind of struggles with but I went to law school, so I feel like I have to practice, right? There's other ways, there's other things that you could do that you're still in like the legal field and you're in legal education. And I think that's honestly one of the most important things. So I think that's really amazing what you do.
Thank you. And I'll say,
Yeah.
with getting the JD and not actually using it, I mean, everybody who's an attorney director at Themis is a JD. That's like a requirement of the job. But I think that the critical thinking skills that I gained from my law degree and how it shifted in a lot of ways how I examine and think about the world around me. And those are skills that I wouldn't trade for the world. Even if I wasn't working in a legal adjacent or, a JD required role, I would still
Yeah.
think that's extremely valuable. So anybody who's
Yeah.
questioning it, you probably still did a good thing by going to law school.
Oh, 100%. Just getting an education, you learn so much. So, like you said, the critical thinking skills, nothing can replace that. And you'll have that for the rest of your life. You'll always
Mhm.
have your JD. So, yeah, no, I think that's really amazing. And really, really happy to have you on to talk to the audience about this. To continue more at your role at Themis, what does your day to day role look like while working with law students in law schools?
Yeah, so it's multifaceted. It depends kind of on the time of year, what I'm doing more of, but generally
Mhm.
speaking, I am working with students while they're in law school to either get them access to the bar review course or help them through the process of studying for the bar, right? So while they're in law school, some of it is sales, some of it is, talking to people about what we offer and why Themis course is good and helpful and can get you through that journey, but a lot of it is support once they move into that study period. So I manage our study strategies component in the course. I don't know if you use that at all, but you can submit questions and they go
Mhm.
straight to attorneys who will answer them. And then I also do a lot of one on one advising with students about how to study effectively and to make sure that they are getting the most out of the program, because there's no way for you to know how to study for the bar if you've never done it before, right? So you can
Yeah.
look at a course and say, okay, I know I need to study, but what does that actually mean? And that's where my role comes in a big way of like, let me help you make sense of these things and how to use them to your benefit.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think you definitely have to make sense of how to study for the bar exam because it is such a hurdle to tackle. And I kept hearing like, it is a marathon, not a race. You want to start early. You want to make sure you're organized, have your books. And then I also saw things like treat it like another class, right? And we've all taken classes before. So I think I try to treat my bar review course as a class. Like this is something I'm getting up. We do it every semester. And at the end, we take final exams. And the bar exam was my final exam. Sometimes you kind of have to think about it in that way too. Just because you've done that so many times, it seemed a little less scary.
That's a great way to think about it.
That's exactly how I try to think about it because half of the tackle with or like the scariness with the bar exam is that it's the bar exam, right? It's just like the name sounds so scary, but I'm like, yes, it's a lot. It's a lot of information, but we've taken a million exams, right? And if you have a bar review course like Themis, you're going to do fine. Just follow Themis's schedule, which was another thing I would like to point out. Themis has the most amazing schedule they put you on. I love how it was like a flex schedule. You can like do it on your own or they can create a schedule for you. It helped me so much because I need it. That was something I struggled with was staying on a consistent schedule because I would want to stay on like a topic or an area like real property for like 3 weeks. I'm like, I gotta move on. And Themis is telling me like, okay, like you gotta go to crim now. But yeah, I really love that about it. Sorry, getting off topic. Next question. How does Themis support students differently compared to other bar prep programs?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think one of the things that really sets Themis apart is the support that we offer to students. Generally speaking, I don't think another bar prep company out there gives more robust and intentional support to their students. So, like I mentioned, we have that message center where you can submit messages to attorneys and then they're going straight to the right people to answer them. You can submit graded essay, substantive law, or study strategies questions through there, and you're going to get a response that's actually from a real person. And I don't know exactly what the other companies are doing, so like don't take this as a direct diss on them, but I know what we're
Yeah.
doing, right? So
Uh-huh.
you're going to get a response from a person within a reasonable amount of time that's going to give you tailored feedback to whatever you're asking about. We also give you the opportunity to schedule calls with people. So somebody like me, a director, will take a call with you, a video call. We can walk through your course. We can say, here's what you've got going on so far. Here's where I see some areas for improvement. How is your studying? Like, what are you doing to this point? And give guidance on like how to refine your study plan. And then we're the only bar prep company that gives you a dedicated essay grader. So I don't know if you did the graded essays in your course.
I did. Yeah.
Good, good. I was going to say, I
Yeah.
hope everyone does them because I think
Yeah.
they're a very helpful tool. But you have the same person grading all of your assigned graded essays in the course, which means that they're able to give you really tailored feedback. I think I've said the word tailored like 3 times now, but that's what it is. Tailored
Yeah.
feedback to your strengths and weaknesses, to patterns in your
Uh-huh.
writing, and to really help you develop into a much stronger writer for the bar exam. And I could keep going, but I think that sums it up pretty nicely.
Yeah. No, I love that. I used a dedicated essay grader and I loved it so much. The first time that I submitted my essay, I was super hard on myself because I love writing. And I submitted it and I got like an average score back, but I was like, I could do better. I could do better. So I was like sitting there, like trying to like work on my essay, writing it out, typing it out, submitted my second essay and my score like shot up. And I was like, wow, like you're studying so much. You just have to like have confidence. I think that was another thing I lacked a little bit too not a little bit. I definitely lacked confidence because I don't love taking exams. And that's why I felt with Themis, I felt super confident, which I never really have with exams. I rather get up and argue in court than have to take an exam. But besides the point, when my grade shot up on that from what the dedicated essay grader gave me, my confidence was boosted and I felt so pumped. I was like, I'm ready to go take this exam. Like, obviously I still had a few weeks left of studying, which was great. So I could even like keep working on it, getting up even more. But it really helped a lot. And knowing that it was, we see these sample answers that like everyone's like trying to mimic the sample answer perfectly. I think it was just so helpful to see a real person grading an essay. Because
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? That's what it's going to be for the bar exam. That's what it is final exams. I know when I was in law school, and you did it at your law school, there was always a million tables of bar review courses, and they're
Mhm.
handing stuff out, and it's like, okay, who should I go with? Some people are going over here, some people are going over there. Sometimes you want to go with like wherever your friends are going, right? It's kind
Mhm.
of just, I always had just like a focus towards Themis. I always thought they were amazing, and I wish that I had used Themis my first time because I think I would have passed. But you got to live and learn, trial and error.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't say enough good things about it. And I know my two best friends from law school used Themis their first time. We collected the stuff at the table and like our lobby at our law school, and they were like, "I'm using Themis." They passed the New York bar first time. My one friend passed with like flying colors. So
Oh, I love
if you're
that.
listening to
That's
this,
wonderful.
yeah, look into Themis right now. Look at their website. Okay, my next question is, does the methodology change when working with students on the MPRE and the bar exam? So how do the programs look for
These are
each?
such good questions. I feel like I don't know if I've ever been asked directly about our methodology before, so I'm excited to talk about that. So Themis uses what we call prime, present, practice method. And so you get the information primed by reading outlines before you watch the lecture videos. The lectures are the present portion of that, and then the practice is obviously practice questions, review, etc. But during all of that, you're not doing like one single subject. This is specific to the bar exam. You're not doing one subject and then like studying only that and then moving on to another subject. You'll study one subject, then you'll start studying the next subject. And as you move through the course, you'll continue to do practice for all of the subjects that you've done prior to whatever you're working on at that moment. That's called
Okay.
interleaved practice. And that's a really effective way to study for anything because it helps you stay fresh on the things that you learn. You're not going to forget stuff that you learned early on once it comes time for the bar exam. So the prime present practice methodology is true across the MPRE and the bar review course. The interleave practice is less relevant to the MPRE course because you're only working with MPRE content versus the bar exam where depending on which jurisdiction you're taking, you're working with a wide number of subjects. And so the methodology is the same, but with just a slight variation.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds amazing. It worked for me, so it was perfect, right? That method works. So no, that's really nice to hear. And I hope the audience, if you have any more questions, I'm sure we can put. I don't know if you want your email or. I don't know
You
if,
can, yeah, we can include my email. That's fine.
okay.
And if it's a question that needs to go to somebody else in Themis, I'll just direct it to the right person.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Okay, let's go on to the bar exam experience. So we know we're filming this, it's April. The July 2026 bar is coming up. Everyone's going to start freaking out. Everyone's going to start graduating in a couple weeks and it's grind time, right? You just got to get right into it. So just a few questions that I think will help some of our listeners. If you're about to take the bar exam right now, use this as a little break. If you're going for a walk, listen to this. It might help you. Just to know that you're not alone as well. Everyone's going through this. I think when you're going through the bar exam, you feel alone. I felt it for 4 months,
Mhm.
from November to February. I just felt like so secluded. I would have like my one best friend would come over all the time to check on me to make sure I was okay. But it's a scary experience. So I think the next set of questions is going to help a lot of people. So why do you think the bar exam feels so overwhelming for so many students?
I think that's a really multifaceted question. One,
Uh-huh.
it's the unknown, right? I think that's a big thing is that you're just stepping into this thing that is completely foreign to you, even though, like you said, it really is kind of just like studying for another class, but it's also very different at the same time.
Yes.
And it feels like studying for the bar is really hard, as I'm sure you can
Oh
agree
yeah.
with, right? It's really hard,
Uh-huh.
but it is not an unattainable goal. And I think a lot of the language around the bar exam is that it is not that it's unattainable, but I think there's this attempt to strike a balance between showcasing how serious it is and the fact that you need to take it very, very serious and be dedicated and diligent And also then that scares people, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's a big part of it. And when I said in my bio that I'm interested in demystifying the bar exam, that's what I'm talking about. It's that I want people to understand that while this is something that requires maybe more energy than you've ever given anything in your life, it is doable if you approach it with structure and a plan and diligence. And yeah, I think it's going to be kind of scary no matter what, but there's definitely a way to make it not feel overwhelming. But right now,
Yeah.
a lot of people do see it as overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I know I'm interviewing you, but I could just talk from experience because I just went through it. It feels so overwhelming, I think, for students too, because it's like your career is riding on this. You went to 3 years of law school. So it's like all you have to do is get through this one more exam, one more big exam, and you could start your career as an attorney. People have jobs lined up. It's scary because, some jobs might say you have one fail, you have two fails, you can't fail at all, or else they're gonna, revoke their offer. So I think, and you're putting a lot of time into it. So I think it can seem very overwhelming in that aspect too. And like you said, I like what you're doing because you're trying to like make everyone kind of feel comfortable with taking the bar exam. And I think Themis does that 100%. I felt that way because I failed the bar exam. My confidence went so low. And then once I was with Themis, I felt so comfortable. But it's definitely an overwhelming feeling. And when you're in it, you can't see it. Like you're just like, oh my, you're just freaking out when you're in it. But I'm hoping this episode helps you that it is obtainable. You can pass the bar exam. You will pass the bar exam. You just got to follow the program. If you're taking Themis, follow their program and have the confidence. And I think that's something I had to learn the hard way. And it's an overwhelming feeling, and everyone goes through it. But the better feeling is when you get that pass. And I went through that two weeks ago, and I was sitting there and I was like, is this real? Like I had to like check it a few times. Like I actually had to print out the letter, like congratulations, and just I put it up in my bedroom. So that is what you're working for. And what is a few months to the rest of your life, right? To have that pass. It's the most amazing feeling. So I really liked what you said, and I hope all the listeners and audience can take that to heart. All right, my next question is: what are some misconceptions about the bar exam that you try to correct, or that Themis tries to correct?
There's a lot. Let me think of the most important ones.
Yeah, give like
So
top three.
top three. Okay. So this one's about when you're actually studying, is that you don't need to read the big outlines cover to cover.
Oh, like
So
I'm so happy you mentioned that because I was gonna ask you about that. I was like, all right, we got to get real here about the big outlines because, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. I got
no, that's
excited.
okay. Yeah, that's a big one. People will tell me I'm spending, 5 hours on an outline and I feel like I'm not getting enough time to do the other work. It's like that's not usually for most students. I won't say for everybody because there are some students where just reading something is super effective as a study tool, but for
Uh
most
huh.
people that's not a very effective study tool. And so that's where it's just meant to prime you for the lectures. It's meant to give you a skeleton for you to help you fit the pieces together when you move across concepts in the lectures to know how they fit together. And yeah, so that one, you don't need to do that. And then the other thing is that there's always, and you kind of mentioned this actually, where you felt like you needed to spend so much time on a single subject before you could move on to the
Uh
next
huh.
thing. The bar exam is a mile wide and an inch deep, right? You're going to see some weird nuances of the law on your bar exam, but for the most part, and I hope this was your experience on Florida, because Florida is a little different than a lot of other bar exams, but you were probably mostly being tested on like big concepts
Yeah.
and not going too into the weeds on things. Of course, you
Yeah.
do need to understand the nuances of the law and memorize them to the best of your ability so that you can make sense of things quickly and understand how one piece of law kind of can fit into a lot of different places and right. But you're never going to memorize everything. It's just not realistic. And that's also not the expectation. And so being
Yeah.
able to move across the course that you're using in a way that gets you enough knowledge without you burning out, right? I'm going to say that over and over again. You need to learn enough without burning out.
Yeah.
That's going to be the best way to do things and trusting in the process a little bit because I think there is this idea that like well, the bar review course says to do this, but like I need to do this. It's like you know yourself well at this point in your academic career, but you've also never studied for the bar exam before. So trust the process a little bit and know that moving
Yeah.
on before you feel ready to move on is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then let's see, let's go with the third one. No, I think let's just stick with two.
Yeah, no, let's stick with two. Honestly, I could relate to those so much because I could be super, super stubborn sometimes. And I was like, no, I need to stay on this subject until I perfect it. Because what if I don't end up coming back to it? And what if it's on the exam? It's like a whole mental game within yourself. Like your worst enemy is you. Like you're fighting the person in the mirror at the end of the day. Like you said, trust the process. When it says move on, move on. The first time I took the bar exam, I did not do that. I was not successful. It wasn't until I used Themis and took it this time around that I was like, okay, keep it moving. And there was things I moved on that I didn't feel like super confident about, but I kept on Themis's schedule and I felt a lot better and it worked. And I felt really comfortable going into the exam because even if I didn't memorize something specifically, some things came back to me while I was taking the bar. Like, oh, I remember seeing this. I remember seeing this. But when going into the bar the day before, I wasn't like, okay, like saying it out loud. I just remember because I saw it at least once. So, and you want to give yourself room also to go over all the subjects. That was a mistake I made. And if you're taking the bar exam in July or next February or whenever, do not make that mistake because that is the first thing that could bring you down. So I think those pieces those top two are amazing, what you said. And to go into about kind of like struggling and making mistakes, from your experience, what separates students who pass from those who struggle?
The biggest thing, and this ties into the being afraid to move forward in your subjects, but this is
Uh-huh.
about practice. I talk to students all the time who are like, I'm not ready to take a graded essay. I'm not ready to take a practice exam because I don't know everything yet. And the people who can recognize that every single thing you do in your bar review course is practice for exam day and can be not afraid of failing in your bar review course because you know that it is working up to the goal of passing, those are the students who are successful. The students who are afraid to do the work because they want to get a perfect score, they're the ones that are not learning enough because you're not getting the experience of using these tools to help you progress your learning forward. Like you said, you got your graded essay and you didn't get the score you wanted. And so you started figuring out why you didn't get that score and incorporating those tactics and tools into your future essay practice. That's what
Yeah.
improved your score. But if you push
Yeah.
all of your graded essays or all of your practice exams to the week or two before the bar exam, you're not getting that learning experience that's helping you shape your understanding of how to approach this so that when exam day comes around, you aren't scared to answer those questions.
Yeah. Guys, audience, followers right now listening, this is real. Everything she's saying is real. I experienced it firsthand. I was one of those students that was super scared to do a practice exam or start an essay. I was just super nervous because I was like, I don't know yet. I didn't perfect everything. And I was not successful when I had that mindset. And it wasn't until I changed my mindset. So I'm really happy you brought that up. And I actually wanted to go back real quick. I wanted to mention again on the outline where I got like super excited because you get in the mail like those big books of just outlines. And again, I said I love a hard copy book in hand, but you might feel inclined to read the entire outline, right? I felt like, oh my God, I need to read the entire thing. Again, that's like my mindset of trying to perfect everything. And I was asking my friends, I'm like, did you guys read, this outline top to bottom? They're like, no. Like it's there if you, need it or like to prep you for something or you want to skim through it or whatever. Some people, like you said, they're really good at reading and that's what they want to do. My study method was not sit there and read. I needed to like keep doing questions and stuff. And then if I was stuck on something, I would go through the outline. But there came a time where I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't finish this section of the outline. And you start to like overthink and you start to like drive yourself crazy a little bit. But I definitely think everyone has different study methods. So if you're struggling right now or when you start in May and you're getting into the weeds in June and July, like really go full send to that practice exam, write that essay. It doesn't matter if you feel ready or not. Like Rebecca said, you just have to do it. Those are the people that succeed. because then you learn from it. You don't want to learn from it like I did on the exam. I learned from it on the actual exam. You don't want to do that. So take Rebecca's advice. Awesome talking about like so many things because I just went through this. So there's like so much in my head right now about the bar.
No, I think
Um,
it's so good for students to hear from somebody who has done it recently, right? I'm
yeah,
speaking from the perspective of somebody who's like, I mean, I took the exam 9 years ago, right? So, like, it was a while ago, and I now have all of this institutional knowledge that I gained as a result of not only taking my bar exam, but working with students for the past 9 years after I
exactly.
did that. But the advice that you're giving is so fresh and so real from your direct experience that happened in February that I think that really resonates with so many people to hear this person just did it and here's what they thought about it. So
Yeah.
talk away.
Yeah, no, and it's bittersweet that I just passed using Themis, and now we get to do this podcast episode. Like, I honestly can't think of anything better, and I can't preach this bar review course enough. And I'm sure like, the MPRE course is probably so amazing. I took the MPRE a few years ago. I can't even remember because you try to like get it out of your head after you take it. But I can't thank Themis enough, honestly. Okay, next question is how long should students be studying for the bar?
So if you're a student who is graduating and you're going to be able to study full time for the bar exam, 10 to 12 weeks is plenty of time. Our recommended
Okay.
start date puts you on a 10-week schedule. I think for students who want to take a day off a week or whatever, then extending that by a week or two to 12 weeks is a good idea to just really give yourself some wiggle room. But
Yeah.
you don't need to study for months and months and months. If you are somebody who is going to be working while you study for the bar, or let's say you have children to take care of or other extenuating life circumstances, then you're probably going to want to start on a longer runway and do less studying each day to make sure that you have that flexibility to, again, not burn out, right? We don't want you to hit a wall. We want your study process to be sustainable. But if you are somebody who has those extenuating circumstances, I always recommend having a consult with somebody at your bar prep company or in your school, in your student services office to just say, what do I need to make this look like for me? What's realistic and how do I manage it? Because those circumstances in your life can be very different person to person.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. When I started and Themis didn't even I was emailing Themis like, "Oh, can I get on the course yet?" And it didn't even open yet in November. I was like waiting for it. I was so excited because I'm like, "This is it." My mindset was just totally different. I'm like, "I'm passing." Um I think that it's great to start 10 to 12 weeks. If you need to start earlier, start earlier. I took the bar in February. I started studying in November before the course even opened. I kind of just started like reviewing stuff, just past things I had because I had taken the bar exam before, just to like kind of get myself in the mindset. And then once you guys opened up your course, I started right away because I just knew that I was like, I need to get this done. I am not playing around. Like this is going to be my last time I'm ever taking this exam, at least for Florida. Maybe I'll circle back to Jersey, New York in the future. I don't want to make any promises right now, but I knew I needed to start it early, especially having experience like being unsuccessful in the past that first time. So when I like first graduated, I was just like, I need to just start early. And I did. And it's because I was working. I was working at a law firm and I was working all day and I was going home and I was like trying to do like 8 hours at night. I'm like, this is like this is not possible at all. I was exhausted. So I was like, if I start early, I could do a little bit each night. I ended up stopping work at the end of December and January and February, just full time, full schedule, studying for the bar. And I felt like that really worked and that was really helpful. So if you are grateful enough and you're able to not work, I think it's great. If you're working, just start a little earlier. And it's still so possible and obtainable. You can do it.
Absolutely.
Um, okay, so I like this question. As states begin to migrate towards the next gen bar, how are the Themis materials and instructions building confidence in a changing bar exam? So what are you guys doing to adjust to the next gen?
Yeah, so as soon as they announced next gen, we put together a task force internally to make sure that we understood what the exam was going to look like, what the questions were going to be, what subjects they were going to test, etc. So from the very beginning, we've been on top of this, and all of the courses that need to be next gen are next gen for this summer.
Okay.
And as any jurisdiction goes next gen, that course will transition to the next gen course. And I mean, I'm biased, right? I think Themis is fantastic, but our
Yeah.
materials are amazing. They are designed to mimic almost exactly what the exam format it looks like, because the next gen will be administered entirely on a computer, and it's not going to be done, I believe that it's not going to be done through a third party software anymore. I think the NCBE is going to have their own testing software for this. And so our platform and everything looks as close to we can get it to what the actual exam will be. And of course, our team of content attorneys who write all of our questions and put the course together are phenomenal. They're some of the smartest people I know. Um, they have been working so hard to make sure that this course, the Next Gen program, is just as good as anything Themis has ever put out. So I have full confidence that students studying for the Next Gen using Themis are going to have a great experience.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I know a lot of law schools have to adjust to, their teaching methods and how everyone's getting prepped for the bar with the next gen. Actually, fun fact, and I won't really speak too much on it, but in January, while I was studying for the bar exam, I was selected to sit for a practice next gen. Just, so like they're doing surveys just to see
Yeah.
how people are taking it. And I sat for it in New York because something that was big with me with taking the exam was going to the testing center and like kind of the stress and being in the environment, because I felt like I was always doing good at home, but being in the environment, I was like, oh my gosh, I started getting like super stressed and it was chaotic. So when I got selected to sit for the next gen, I was like, you know what? Even though it's not the exam I'm taking in February, I was like, let me just go sit for it and get myself in that environment. So yeah, I did sit for the next gen for a practice. I have no idea what my score was, never got that. Was able to just sit there, take it. Hopefully they got, good results from everybody in the classroom, but it was definitely different.
What did you
Definitely
think about
different.
it? I have my thoughts, but I'm curious what you thought about the format of the
Yeah.
exam.
I actually liked it better than the format we have now. I liked the next gen better. I liked that, just like the structure and how the questions were being asked. I felt like it was very, like my brain was just going with like how it was being asked and kind of being all over the place. Because I felt like when I took the bar, at least when I took it in the past, and then this time, I feel like my mind is just like, I got to know all this information over here, over here. I was just like so chaotic. When I took the next gen, I felt very, I don't know, like everything went very
Mhm.
smoothly, and I was just going down the line. I finished it pretty quickly. I feel like I had extra time, which was nice. So I don't know. I think it's going to be good. Do you have your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be great, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
rolling out any sort of brand new exam is gonna be a little, there will be challenges, right, as they go through the
Yeah.
next couple of years of the rollout, but from everything that I've seen, I've not done a pilot program like you did, but I've seen, the course and the questions, and we've had a lot of internal discussions about what the exam will look like, and the biggest thing that stands out to me is that it is so much more analogous to what you see in legal practice, right? It's having you think about things the way you think about them if you are working on a case for a client, right? If
I
you're
agree
trying to put
100%.
something together. Whereas the bar now, like you mentioned, it's just making you jump from subject to subject, which I think having that recall, there's value in being able to quickly subject switch like that. But when you're practicing law, you don't have to do that. You have legal databases and resources at your disposal. And so what you need to know is how to approach a problem. And I think the next gen does a good job of that.
Yeah, I like what you said. It's very good with if you're following on a case. And I think that's what I liked, because I like real practice.
Yeah.
Then, like I said before, I'm not like a big exam person. I don't love exams. So when I was taking it, I felt more like I was in practice, or I was, helping a supervising attorney on something. So I definitely think it's gonna be good. I'm being general with like how I'm describing it, because I don't know how much I should talk about it, but I really think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna help a lot with practice. And yeah, it's gonna be good for people taking it, and I'm excited to see how it's gonna go for the future.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Let's go into some we'll wrap up soon. I know we're filming, me and Rebecca are filming super late right now. We both had like super long days, but this is an extremely important episode, so happy we're able to get it in. So let's talk about some advice for law students. What should students start doing early in law school to set themselves up for bar success?
I think the best thing you can do, and this will help you throughout all of law school and into the bar exam, is to really take time to figure out what your learning style is. Figure that out as early as possible. That way, when you walk into the bar exam, into studying for the bar exam, you know exactly how you need to study to get that maximum retention and effectiveness without hitting a wall and being totally exhausted. And
Yeah.
I think the other thing you can do is to start kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning, stop trying to do everything and start trying to do the things that are the most helpful for you in the study process. And
Yeah.
finally, I think learning how to sit and focus for long stretches of time, which you have to do in law school anyway, but like really thinking about them and being intentional with, okay, I'm going to sit and do this particular subject for, I don't know, 2 hours straight, right? And really, truly only doing that. Like you said, we're always on our computers, we're always on our phones, but like have you and your textbook and a notebook, maybe, right? And just like really work on that sustained
Yeah.
focus because when you are sitting for the bar exam, even if you're taking the next gen, you're still gonna be testing for 12 hours, or excuse me, 9 hours. The UBE now is 12 hours of testing over 2 days, and the next gen is 9 hours over a day and a half. That's a long time to sit in a room and only be locked into bar exam questions, and so the earlier you can kind of get yourself
Yeah.
used to that, the more it'll help you with your law school studying and your finals, and then it'll make the whole process of studying for the bar easier.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. Set yourself up early and then you'll be successful. If a student is feeling behind or discouraged, what would you tell them?
Ask for help, first of all, right? And this applies during law school or during bar study. You don't know what you don't know. And there's lots of people in your law school. And if you are in the process of studying for the bar at your bar review company who genuinely want to help you and we want to see you succeed. And so, not waiting too long to ask for help, I would say. And then the other thing is that this is temporary, right? Law school is
Mhm.
temporary. 3 years is a long time, but it is temporary. The bar exam feels like a decade when you're studying for it, but that is also temporary. And it's all in the pursuit of a larger goal that you set out to achieve, which is becoming an attorney. And so the tough parts are manageable with the right mindset, and it will be over, honestly, sooner than you think.
Yeah. I can attest to that because I didn't go outside for like 4 months. I think I took like a break for like a few days around New Year's time. I used that as like my midway break. But I really didn't. It was winter in New Jersey. It was cold. And I was like, oh, it's perfect time to study because nothing's going on outside. It's not sunny. It was just snowing. But yeah, I did not go outside for 4 months. And I felt at one point, I don't know if I'm gonna get through this. Like it's never ending. You're never gonna see the day. You start to think of all these thoughts, and now it's April 29th that we're filming this, and I got sworn in about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. I got sworn in the same week I found out about got my results. And it's just like surreal and it happens fast. And you just have to put that hard work in now and let the rest play out. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you're feeling behind or discouraged, definitely just keep going because you could do it.
You can do it, and I think one more thing I'll add to that is, I don't know that I recommend your method of not leaving the house for 4 months. Like, you
Yeah,
do
no, don't do that. Do not do that.
you have to find time for things that bring you joy while you're studying for the bar, right? Even if it's
Yeah,
winter and you can't really go anywhere, like, making sure that you are I don't know if you like to cook, making sure that you're still finding time to do that. If
yeah,
exercise
yeah.
is part of your life, which I hope it is, then that should be
Mhm.
something you continue doing, right? And making sure that you're not turning into somebody who only ever thinks about the bar exam because part of the learning process is when your brain is resting, when you are not working and when you are
I agree.
sleeping. And so that is super, super important to treat yourself with respect and kindness and compassion the whole time you're studying too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, definitely don't do that. Don't not leave the house. It was just cold out, so like I was staying in anyway. But I definitely I did Pilates a lot, which was helped, motivates you working out. I always on Saturdays I picked up because I would just like want to just rest at home. But instead of going out to dinner, I would pick up like chicken hibachi. It's like my favorite meal. And I would pick it up every Saturday. So like I was so excited for Saturdays because I'm like I had something to look forward to, and I'd pick it up, and like my friend would come over, and the one I was saying earlier that would always come check on me, and I would eat it. It would be like my favorite night. I would work like on my courses, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm cutting myself off at 9 p.m. and having the rest of the night to myself. Like definitely get on a schedule, go for walks, do things that make you happy, paint if you're a painter, do little things like that because you don't want to drive yourself crazy. Like you said, I knew the most when I took a break. I took a break and I went back to it and I was like, wait, I feel really motivated. There was times I fell asleep on top of my books on my desk. And I was like, I am not being effective like whatsoever. Like one time my friend, he had called me like just to check in, and he was like, oh, what are you doing? You want to take a 15-minute break? And I had been falling asleep on my desk. I'm like, yes, you know what? I do need a 15-minute break. And I took a little break and went back to it a little while later, and I felt a lot better. So definitely do things that make you happy. And yeah, you're going to be great. It's going to be fine. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long, and you're working super hard, and it should actually, I try to get excited to study. I was like, if I got to get excited about this, because I'm super excited, I know I'm going to do well. Because when you're excited about something, you're automatically, I don't know, I'm just taking in information, I'm memorizing it more than like, I don't want to do this. Because if you think like that, you got to be positive. I go to Starbucks all the time. They knew me very well at the Starbucks drive-thru. They're probably still looking for me. I have to go back and tell them I passed. But I would go there all the time. Yeah, do little things, and you'll see everything else plays out from there. Okay, so let's do a couple rapid-fire closing questions. You can answer 1 word, 2 words, whatever you think, but it could be quick. One myth about the bar exam.
Impossible.
Yes. Love that. One must-have study habit.
Waking up at the same time every day.
Okay. I like that. That's good. Stay on a schedule. One thing students worry about too much.
Outlines.
Yeah. Outlines. And don't, like we said earlier, keep moving. Do not get like wrapped up in one area or in one outline. Keep going. Last question. Best way to recharge during bar prep.
Sleep enough. You really have to sleep.
Yeah, I agree with that. There was nights where one night I actually stayed up the entire night. I never went to sleep because I just had such bad anxiety about the exam. And I was still like a month or a month and a half out, but I had such bad anxiety that I was like, if I just stay up, because I was staying up anyway because I couldn't fall asleep, I'll just keep studying. But then the next day for hours, I could not focus. It was not good. So, and then I was having anxiety that I wasn't effective the next day. It's, you start to spiral. Get your sleep, put on like a little white noise, put on an eye mask, like a show, whatever helps you. Like make sure you get your sleep, because that was a mistake. I messed up a few times, and I was not effective those days of studying.
Yeah,
sometimes
it's a vicious cycle. Like it's a really vicious cycle if you don't.
100%.
Because you're tired, and then you're anxious, and then you're more anxious. And then at a certain point, you're so tired and anxious that you're like wired and you can't do anything. And that's a lot of times when people hit burnout. There's more things than that can like send you into burnout, but that's a big one where you're like spiraling all the time and not able to calm yourself down from that. And so like, I don't know, take a bath, right? Like do something that takes you fully out of bar exam mindset so that you can then settle into bed. Like don't just stop studying and then try to immediately get to bed. Give your brain some time to turn off, and that should hopefully help.
Yeah, put a face mask on, watch a sport game, whatever you have to do. I would sometimes put a show on just for an hour, even though I was exhausted, because my mind wouldn't go to bed racing. So I'd put a show on. I never watched reality TV. It was never my thing. But bar exam had me watching reality TV because I needed something that I just like did not need to think or like follow anything. It was just TV that was on. But I think that's helpful. Another thing I did sometimes because you're sitting up at a desk all day, or just like sitting like this, and like your back hurts, and you need to go for a walk. Sometimes if I just needed to lay down, I would go on my phone, put my laptop away, go on my phone, and I would open up the Themis app. And I would go on there and just answer questions. But I was like at least laying down where I felt like comfortable, and I wasn't like so upright all the time, because that could be uncomfortable after a while. But yeah, utilize it. I loved the Themis Bar app. I thought that was the most amazing thing. And I would just answer my questions, you know. And also another important thing that I'm sure maybe you could talk about for a second too. I know, sorry, that was supposed to be rapid fire closing, but I told you I'm so into this right now because I just took it. When you get something wrong, or even when you get like a question right or wrong, go through the explanation of why it's A, why it's not B, why it's not C, because that helped me so much. And I know that helped my one friend too a lot. I don't know if you want to talk about that really
Yeah.
quick, of how important that is.
That is one of the most important things that you can do in the course, right? When we were talking before about not getting bogged down in like reading the outlines, spending too much time like trying to learn a subject on your own, the learning comes from doing that. That active
Yeah.
practice and review is, in my experience, the most effective way. And so when you're doing questions, this is where knowing your learning style comes into play too, right? Of like, what does it mean for you to review in a way that makes sense for you and is actually helping you learn things? So I mentioned that I really like to handwrite things. I had this janky notebook. Like, I never looked at this notebook again after I wrote in it, but like it was just my write down rules notebook. And some
Mhm.
people reuse theirs. Mine was not. Mine was literally just like, I'm scribbling rules into a notebook. I would sit there, answer the question, get the answer explanation. If I got it right, but I didn't really know why I got it right, like if I guessed a little bit, or if I was like, I was really between two answers, I'm not sure why this one was right,
Yeah.
I'm writing stuff down from that. I'm taking notes on the answer explanation. And obviously, if I got it wrong, I'm taking notes on that answer explanation. And so sometimes a set of MBE questions would take me, twice as long as maybe the allotted time. But I learned
Yeah.
so much from that, just from being like you're thinking critically and analyzing when you're answering the question, and then you're immediately shifting into that assessment time. I don't really know what to call it other than that, where you're thinking about the answer. And so it all flows together, and that is how you have to think about those questions for the bar exam. So that is, I cannot recommend doing that more highly.
Yeah, I learned a lot from that, a lot. And in the past, when I took the bar exam, I would get something wrong. I kind of get frustrated, like, oh, I'll go back to it. I'll go back to it. Never had time to go back to it because I had to keep going. And that's where I went wrong. And where I went right this time was reading all the explanations that Themis gave me. And I learned so much from it. Things I was like, wait, wasn't even aware that was a thing, right? Like this term, or I don't know. It really helps. So, yeah, I think it's great. But thank you so much, so much for coming on. Themis Bar Review is one of the best courses. I will suggest it to everyone that I talk to. I think it's amazing. You guys have a really good program going. You're really supporting students. And I just know from going through 2 years of graduating to passing the exam, it was a struggle. And it's something I'll always have with me, honestly, for the rest of my life. It changes you, it changes your character. And I knew going into that exam 2 months ago that, like, I think this was it. And it's because I used Themis. It was Themis that helped me through. So the fact that I was even able to do this podcast episode with you means so much. So to students right now that are studying for the bar exam, keep going. You're going to be fine. Stick to your program. If you're looking for programs, really look into Themis. They are amazing. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Rebecca. We will put her email, if that's okay with you,
Yeah.
in our bio. And yeah, I hope everything goes good. Good luck. You guys are going to do great. And thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so proud of you for passing the bar exam. That is such
Thank
an incredible
you.
accomplishment. And I know you keep saying that Themis did it for you, but you did it. So you have to take
Thank
some
you.
credit for that. You put the work in, and you're the one that did it. So it was a real
Thank you.
pleasure talking to you. And thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Of course. Thank you. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.